Episode 3, The Crown of Clay and Shadows. Ukpili Chronicles. Under the sacred Iroko tree at the heart of Ukpili village, the air throbbed with celebration. Drums roared like thunder and voices soared like birds rising at dawn. The elders stood in a circle, and at the center of it all was Elder Okama, the wise one whose gray hair was full of seasons and stories. In his hands, he held a handmade crown, woven with raffia, bronze beads, and red feathers, meant for the one they all agreed should lead them. As the villagers watched in joy, Oboroni knelt and bowed his head, and Elder Okama placed the crown gently on his scalp. Cheers broke forth like rain after harmattan, and so Oboroni became the first king of Ukpili. The villagers sang and danced in wild joy, drumming and ululating as they followed their new king to his old mud house. But as they reached it, they all paused and looked around. The house was small, plain, unfit for a crown. One of the elders cleared his throat and said, "Can a python sleep in the nest of a weaver bird? Let us build him a palace befitting his kingship." And so it was. The palace of the people. The next day, all of Ukpili stirred like an anthill. The men entered the forest, swinging axes, cutting timber and palm trunks. Women followed behind, balancing bundles of thatch and sticks on their heads. Even the children were not left behind. They fetched ropes, water, and helped drive goats away from the building site. They worked like bees in harmony, digging foundations, raising walls, and binding rafters together with vines. Each family brought their best effort, their hands building what their hearts had agreed. When the wind favors the canoe, even the smallest paddle finds strength. At the end of many moons, a palace rose from the earth like a sacred mountain. It was not just one house, but a collection of tall huts painted in red clay, with strong carved doors and compound walls adorned with symbols of greatness. Never before had such a thing been seen in all of Ukpili, or even in neighboring Obong or Okashon. But their kindness did not end there. As they looked upon the palace, the villagers said among themselves, "A king with an empty stomach cannot think straight. And a goat that is not fed will wander into another man's farm." So once more, they entered the forest, not to build this time, but to farm. Men tilled the earth under the sun, women cleared weeds with sharp hoes, and the children fetched water from the stream in calabashes. They planted yams, okra, pepper, maize, everything. They did it not because they were forced, but because they believed. Days turned to weeks, and when the farms were done, they all returned to their compounds in smiles, knowing they had done something noble for their land. At last, a date was fixed for King Oboroni's official coronation. The newly completed palace was decorated with brooms and palm fronds, and a goat was slaughtered at the entrance for protection. On that day, the people came with joy in their hearts. Some brought yams and palm oil, some came with bush meat and dried fish, others came with gifts of fowls, red kola nuts, and even fine mats. The drummers beat their drums until the earth shook. Dancers moved like the river. The whole land rejoiced. Then King Oboroni stood to speak. He raised his hands and said, "My people, you have done well. You've built me a house, you've fed me with the harvest of your love. But something is missing. What is a king without guards to watch his sleep? And maidens to fan his body at night?" The crowd laughed nervously. It sounded strange, but who were they to question a king? One of the elders, moved by honor, stepped forward and offered his own daughter as the maiden. She was young and beautiful, and she knelt before Oboroni saying, "May you live long, King of Ukpili." The king touched her head arrogantly and said, "Now this is how it should be." Some young men, eager to serve, offered to be his guards. But instead of thanking them, King Oboroni demanded something no one expected. "Swear before the gods," he said, "that you will never leave your post until I release you. Swear that your loyalty is eternal." The people looked at each other in confusion. But the crowd was too loud, and the drums too sweet, so they laughed again and agreed, thinking it was all part of the celebration. As the sun set, the coronation ended. But that evening, When the guards returned to say they were going back to their homes to inform their families, King Oboroni flew into a rage. He ordered that they be flogged mercilessly in front of the palace gate. Their cries echoed into the forest, and a silence fell over Ukpili. The people began to whisper. Something wasn't right. A shadow had passed over their joy. The dog that dances for the masquerade must remember, when the drum stops, it is still a dog. To be continued.